Coming up in the next hour, new Labour Commission comes into office with teacher unions on industrial action.
None of the 34 persons under quarantine for Marburg virus disease has confirmed positive following contact with 2 patients who succumbed to the virus in Ashanti.
Nigeria's prison authorities published names and photos of 69 suspected militants who recently escaped from a prison in Abuja during a deadly raid.
And Japan shocked as our ex-prime minister assassinated at a political campaign event.
Good evening, it's News Hour live on GBC News and on GTV, streaming live on Facebook and on YouTube Ghana Broadcasting Corporation. My name is Sumiela Forte.
My name is Clara Mlano. Jonathan Itendakun. Robert Frimpong Manso will translate the news into sign language. Good evening.
Now the news in detail. Government will on Tuesday, July 12, begin negotiations on the demand by organized labor for a 20% cost of living allowance.
A statement signed by the Minister for Employment and Labor Relations, Mr. Ignatius Bafuiwa, said government is committed to engage organized labor to find lasting solutions to their demand and appeal to the teacher unions to call off their strike.
The government, represented by the Ministers for Employment and Labour Relations, Finance, Education and National Security on one hand and organised labour on the other, held an emergency meeting on Friday, 8th July 2020 at the Ministry of Employment and Labour Relations conference room on the aforementioned subject matter. A statement signed by the Minister for Employment and Labour Relations, Mr. Ignatius Bafuiwa, says a government has taken note of the demand by organised labour for 20% cost of living allowance COLA in the light of the current economic conditions prevailing in the country and is committed to engaging organised labour to find a lasting solution to same. The statement further appealed to the teacher unions to call off their ongoing industrial action.
Striking teacher unions are sticking to their guns and won't back down to the government heeds to their request for a 20% cost of living allowance COLA. Schools remain open per a directive from the Ghana Education Service, with management teams on hand to ensure the safety and well-being of students. Basic school heads are also directed to supervise all children who report to school pending further directives from the authorities. GBC News visited some basic schools in Accra to gauge the atmosphere or see how they were coping with the situation.
The news team first visited the Kanda Cluster Basic School. The classrooms were locked up and the school children were just playing or loitering. The situation at the Nima cluster of schools was not different. At the St. Kizito RC Basic School, the Form 3 students were writing their mock examination under the supervision of the headmistress and some national service personnel. The authorities refused to talk to the news team, but some of the students pleaded for their teachers to come back to the classroom.
Look at around, some of them have come to school, but they won't sit in the classroom and they'll be roaming. If the teachers are in the school, all this will not happen.
I'm pleading government to come in because I'll be writing BEC this year and it will affect us negatively.
The Ayawaso East Municipal Director of Education, Madam Adiza Tausa, told GBC News that schools within her jurisdiction were taking their mock examinations under the supervision of some head teachers.
We in our district have earmarked this week for our municipal mock. The Form 3s as I speak now, are writing their mock, so the strike has not affected them in any way. We have organized national service persons and then NACO personnel, and then a few teachers that come around to help us do that activity. And the schools are open. When students come or the learners come, the few that come take care of them.
She appealed to the teachers to consider the effect the strike would have on pupils and students and take a decision.
In the Bono East region, teachers and pupils are absent from all the public basic schools. In the senior high schools, even though some teachers remain on campus, teaching and learning is not going on. Both final year pupils and SHS students are not happy with the situation, which they say will affect their final exams. From the Bono East region, Samuel Ayama has more.
It is the last working day of the week, and it is also day 5 since various teacher unions in the country embarked on strike following government's inability to provide them with their cost of living allowance, popularly known as COLA. Here at the Ouagadougou MA Primary School, a couple of days ago, I visited this school and I came through with a report about the inadequate infrastructure here in the Ouagadougou MA Primary School. Currently, I'm back here and it is exactly 11 a.m. in the morning. One would have expected to see teaching and learning ongoing, but that is not the case here. Not even a single student or a teacher can be found here. The final year students preparing to write the BEC exams, their woes have further been deepened by the strike action. Back in the Techima municipality at the Good Shepherd Educational Institute, teaching and learning is ongoing from crèche.
As a final year student, you go to class, your teacher is not around. You sitting down to learn alone is not easy, because sometimes there might be some things you don't understand that you need more explanation, and your teacher is not around to explain it to you. The non-teaching staff, the security men are not around, and it's a girls' school. Anything can happen. Anyone can come in here, and as ladies, we are very vulnerable.
The issue is not peculiar to only students of Our Lady of Mount Carmel Girls Senior High School here in the Bono East region. Other senior high schools, when you visit, they also face the same challenge. The request of the students is for government to negotiate with the teachers and bring them back to school for them to prepare adequately for their exams. For GBC News, Samuel Ayama, Techimai.
Wants to start.
The Upper East Regional Minister, Mr. Stephen Yakubu, says there are plans to ensure that the ongoing strike by teacher unions does not disrupt the academic calendar. On Friday, the minister paid a working visit to some senior high schools in the region.
Mr. Stephen Yakubu was at the Bogatanga Senior High School and Bogatanga Girls Senior High School. He called on students to make maximum use of their time in the absence of their teachers while government makes efforts to meet their demand. The minister pleaded with the workers to take pity on the students and return to their posts.
Right now, all over the world, there are problems, and therefore government will resolve the matter. But they should try and come back. They should look at, especially in this our region where even students cannot even get money to go back to their parents, and parents also don't have money to give to our students even to feed, and therefore we should think about that and then come back to school.
The headmaster of Bogatanga said he has faced numerous challenges since the kitchen staff went on strike.
We had a chat with the senior matron, the domestic mother. She assured us that we would prepare meals. Right, to our surprise, it didn't. So lunch was not served. So around 3, we had a program with the students, only to be told that they are not eating, so they are hungry.
Since Monday, July 4, 4 teacher unions have declared an indefinite nationwide strike over demands for 20% cost of living allowance.
President Akufo-Addo has inaugurated members of the National Labour Commission at the Jubilee House in Accra. Of prime importance to the president is for the new team to ensure there is industrial peace and harmony in the country. Reason being, these are ingredients for attracting investments.
The new Labour Commission comes into office at a time that the country is witnessing inflationary pressures that's influencing some labour unions to embark on an industrial action. The 8-member commission's main task is to be a mediator between the tripartite committee on the labour front, including government, Ghana's Employers Association and employees. President Akufo-Addo said the new commission members must ensure balance between legitimate demands of labour and the resources of the country in order to promote tranquility on the labour front.
Times in which we are, these difficult economic circumstances in the country, which is affecting everybody top to bottom, it will take on an even added significance, the work that you're going to be doing. I believe that the promotion of industrial peace and harmony is a function of two things. That we establish a balance between what are the legitimate demands of labor, what are the capacities of employment of the employer. Then we can strike a fair and equitable balance between the demand and the supply, as it were. It becomes the most effective way of promoting industrial peace and harmony in our country.
Member of the Labour Commission, Mrs. Rose Annan Kakari, assured the President a readiness to work hard, promote harmony by engaging all stakeholders in the space.
The statute makes it very clear to settle industrial disputes and also not to even to allow the dispute to arise, to put our ears to the ground, and where, there are issues, in any industry sector, we quickly rush there and see what we can do. And especially also training. It's not only setting up the disputes, we are also training members, in the employment relationship, because with any employment relationship, there's bound to be some disagreement and agreement.
Chairing the Labour Commission is Justice Kwamena Asumanadu. His supporting team members are Mr. Emmanuel Amufa representing government, Mr. Justice Peter Babiu, Mrs. Rose Kakari Annan, Ghana Employees Association, Mr. Isaac Saki, Mr. Kofi Davo, Organized Labour, Mr. Patrice Fidelis Sedo, Organized Labour, and Mr. Ofusua Samoa, Executive Secretary of the Labour Commission. Edward Nyakun, reporting for GBC News.
An optimistic President Akufo-Addo says Ghana will come out of the IMF program successful. In his first public comment since government took the decision to seek IMF support, President Akufo-Addo said the program will in the short term improve the balance of payment challenges facing the country due to the COVID-19 pandemic and the Russia-Ukraine war. The president made these remarks when commissioning 10 ambassadors at the Jubilee House in Accra.
The 10 diplomat Ambassador Ahmed Hassan, former Director of State Protocol, who now serve in his new capacity as Ambassador at Large, Mrs. Mirin Benya, the Ambassador Designate for Italy, Mrs. Wawonyo Ajiman, High Commissioner to Sierra Leone, Mohammed Nuruddin Ismailia, Ambassador to Qatar. The rest are Mavis Kusubo, Ambassador to Angola, Mrs. Lydia Amate, Ambassador to Israel, Ambassador Emmanuel Entry, Switzerland, Mrs. Florence Akono, High Commissioner to Malaysia, Mrs. Emma Mensah, Ambassador to Senegal, and Herin Techi Mensah, Chief of Protocol, Ambassador in situ. Addressing the new envoys, President Akufo-Addo said recent events, including COVID-19, have shown that it is important to deepen ties among countries and charge them to promote the image of the country to the outside world. On the IMF support program, the president was confident that with determination, hard work and unity, Ghana will succeed.
Economies have been plunged into recessions, businesses have collapsed, lives and livelihoods have been disrupted. Food and fuel prices have escalated dramatically as global and domestic inflationary pressures mount. Hopefully, sooner rather than later, the world will make up on lost time. In our case, we have decided to seek the collaboration of the International Monetary Fund, IMF, to repair in the short run our public finances, which have taken a severe hit in very recent times as a result. Whilst we continue to work on the medium to long-term structural changes that are at the heart of our goal of creating a Ghana beyond aid, that is building a resilient, robust Ghanaian economy. I'm confident that with determination, hard work, unity, and the proverbial Ghanaian sense of enterprise, we will succeed, we will make it, and indeed, this too shall pass.
On behalf of his colleagues, Ambassador Emmanuel Entry thanked the president, posing confidence in them.
Mr. President, we acknowledge your efforts to build a resilient economy through homegrown solutions by pursuing bold and sustainable developmental programs like the production of vaccines in Ghana. Also, the production of fertilizer in Ghana to wean our country of foreign imports. We will assist you in this bid. With our rich and varied backgrounds as envoys, we intend to leverage on our skills and experience through advanced partnerships in the pursuit of our economic diplomacy.
Diplomats are now formally en route to their duty posts to continue to push the government's agenda of economic diplomacy to woo investors into the country. Edward Nyakun, reporting for GBC News.
None of the 34 persons under quarantine for the Marburg virus disease has confirmed positive following their contact with the 2 patients who succumbed to the virus in the Ashanti region. The validated results from the Noguchi Memorial Institute for Medical Research of samples taken from a suspected case on Friday morning turned out to be negative, according to the Ghana Health Service. It is the first ever of such infections in the country.
Ghana, for the first time, recorded its first 2 cases of Marburg virus disease 2 weeks ago. The 2 cases from the Ashanti region presented acute hemorrhagic fever from 2 different locations and dates. According to the Director for Public Health at the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Franklin Asiedu Bequin, the 2, however, died within 24 hours of reporting. 34 other persons, including health personnel who came in contact with the patients, were quarantined.
Of the 34 contacts, there's only one who developed some symptoms. So the samples were collected and sent to Noguchi, and this morning it has come out as negative. So for now, these are all asymptomatic contacts who are being monitored for the next 21 days.
Although Marburg virus is traced to an Egyptian fruit bat, which is not a common species in Ghana, initial investigations has not yet determined the source of the infection, since one of the cases has no travel history. The health system has, however, been placed on high alert.
We have sent a case definition to the health facilities. We are going to train our volunteers so that any person in the community who has any illness, that will be our immediate point of call to look at it. So for now, we have time to enhance our surveillance to early detect and to manage the cases. Clearly, we have labs here, Noguchi cases here, our reference lab. The idea is to make sure we have the reagents that they can be able to confirm cases which occur. And our case management is making sure that just before, let's say this advent, our case management team has been going around the regions, training them on monkeypox, COVID-19, and they even added viral hemorrhagic fevers. So it's not anything very new. All we need to make sure that we get the necessary logistics to handle the cases. What we're going to do is that when you have a case, you need to find a place to isolate. So facilities are supposed to have designated isolating places to contain them. And then we'll also look at the communication. What must Ghanaians know? So our alert is the first point of call to let Ghanaians know that we have gotten this disease in the country. And then if you think that you fall into that bucket of suspicion, then you go to a nearest facility.
Prospective cases present with fever, bloody diarrhea, bleeding gums, bleeding in the skin, eyes, and bloody urine. There are no vaccines or antiviral treatments approved to treat the virus. Supportive care, that is rehydration with oral or intravenous fluids, and treatment of specific symptoms improves survival. Sarah for GBC News.
So watching news are live on GBC News and on GTV. Ahead of the NPP delegates election scheduled between 15th to 17th July at the Accra Sports Stadium, the New Patriotic Party has ordered the removal of all billboards of aspirants in the upcoming national delegates elections. According to the party, the decision was made after a meeting by the National Council of the party. In the Greater Accra region, for instance, billboards and posters of candidates have flooded streets ahead of the elections. In a communique signed by its Director of Communications, the party warned candidates against extravagant politicking.
The communique further stated that in aid of moving internal party contests towards national election standards, and given the fact that the Electoral College for the upcoming national officers' elections is known to all the contestants, the MPP has fashioned additional rules of campaign conduct to govern the activities of candidates for the impending National Annual Delegates Conference.
The chairperson of the Convention People's Party, CPP, Nana Akosua Frimpoma Sapon Kuma, has assured Ghanaians that she is ready to put in her best efforts to ensure that the CPP is well positioned to win power and make life better for all Ghanaians. Addressing the media in Accra, Nana Sapon Kuma urged the rank and file of the party to condemn attempts by some people to sow seeds of discord and confusion within the party.
We have not had elections of polling station electoral area for 2 years before our national elections in this fourth republic. Never. It's always been a few months to the maximum a year, like in my case where Abu Sakra came, it was 4 months to the elections. So it is in the wisdom of the Council of Elders that they took this case, this last case from court, and inserted in the consent judgment the fact that we as leadership must abide by the Constitution that states that we must do the 2 years and we must do the polling station and electoral area, and before we go to the constituency, region, and then elect our national officers. We have already told the EC that this time, for the first time, CPP, we will do our polling station electronically, and we are coming up with one of the best systems. Yes, I'm IT savvy, but I do not and will not do anything that will jeopardize this party. But however, I will use my energy, my knowledge, and my resources to support this party to become the best. And if we cannot go to the grounds, because there's technology, we will use technology to be able to get membership and get the people interested. In the name of BCP, there is victory.
From the Eastern region, the Legal Aid Commission Ghana, in collaboration with the United Nations Development Programme, UNDP, and the Legal Resources Center, organized a 2-day multi-stakeholder consultative workshop on the draft legislative instrument and paralegal guide in Koforidua. The workshop equipped the paralegal officers with the new paralegal concept to improve on justice delivery in the country.
The Legal Aid Commission is a state agency with a mandate to provide legal aid services to the less privileged in society to ensure access to justice. The Commission is supposed to have qualified, diligent and committed legal, paralegal and alternative dispute resolution personnel to provide legal services to protect the interests and rights of the poor or the needy. The participants were taken through the legislative instrument and paralegal guide. The executive director at the Legal Resources Center, Ms. Daphne Lariba Nabila, said in the past few decades, the country has made efforts to provide legal aid service, but has been hampered by limited legal staff, limited operational coverage, and prospective clients' lack of adequate knowledge about the services of Ghana's Legal Commission.
As at last year, June 2021, the Legal Aid Commission had only 35 lawyers working for it nationwide.
The president of the Ghana Bar Association, Mr. Yawe Champon Boafo, appealed to the government to increase the financial allocation to the commission for it to execute its functions appropriately. Mr. Martin Amoyao is the executive director of the Legal Aid Commission.
Apart from those in Koforidua and its environs, it is becoming expensive for them to travel from the rural areas to come to Koforidua. So 2005-2007, we approached UNDP They say, I want to go to the district. That's where the poor people are more located. So how did they do? So they were trying an experimental one. We opened about 18 community mediation centers as a pilot on a pilot cases. So first year we had 18, then the next year we had 26 offices. So it became a success. So the government adopted it formally, and then we changed the name from community mediation to district offices of the legal aid scheme.
The president of the Ghana Bar Association, Mr. Yao Echampon-Boafo, has entreated lawyers not to consider paralegal officers as rivals, but rather colleagues to help complement their work. He, however, called for effective regulation of the activities of the paralegals to ensure that they do not deviate from their core mandate. Mr. Yao Echampon-Boafo was speaking to journalists at a consultative workshop on a draft legislative instrument and paralegal guide in Kumasi, Kofodia, the Eastern Regional Capital.
Paralegals are there to complement the work that we do as opposed to them. But then that brings up a very, very important point. In this country, regulation is something that we don't do very well. Our regulatory environment in every aspect of our life is non-existent. So the greatest fear, and I think that that's something that we have to look at, is that when we start training paralegals, we hope that there will be a very solid regulatory regime. And for me, what is important is for us to clearly delimit the functions, what they can do and cannot do. Because we don't want a situation where somebody will set shop in a rural area where lawyers hardly visit or there is no, and then between him and some local magistrate, they turn themselves into something else. It's a great fear. So for me, I think that for the fear is that if we are going to implement this, let's make sure that for once in the history of this country, there is proper regulation.
News are live on GBC News and on GTV. We'll be back shortly. Please don't go away. Business, brought to you by MTN. In accordance with Section 28 of the Public Financial Management Act 2016, Act 921, the Minister for Finance is expected to present the mid-year review to Parliament on Wednesday, July 14. The presentation will provide the economic and fiscal performance of the economy for the first half of 2021, as well as provide update on the implementation of key programs, including strategies by government to create employment for Ghanaians in general and the youth in particular. The media review is also expected to give updates on ongoing talks with the International Monetary Fund, IMF. Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta will also highlight the status of the implementation of the Ghana Cares Obatampa program that seeks to revitalize and transform the economy to pre-pandemic times. The review is also expected to focus on revenue, expenditure and financing performance for the first half of 2022 and provide an overview of the implementation of the 2022 budget. The minister is expected to seek supplementary financing. Civil society organizations at a forum in Accra have described the 2022 media budget implementation as disappointing. According to them, most of the inputs and suggestions made last year did not receive the needed attention.
The mid-year budget review is expected to be read next week at a time when discussions will still be ongoing for the country's 17th bailout by the IMF. The meeting by the CSOs was to assess government's mid-year budget performance, and sectors that engaged their attention were energy, extractive, education and health sectors. The Africa Program Officer of the Natural Resource Governance Institute, Dennis Jayir, said there hasn't been much change from what the CSOs assessed in 2021, especially in the energy sector.
Knowing very well that the IMF is in town, hopefully the government would have to tighten its belt and would look at the options for revenue generation, which would include, of course, in the energy sector and other sectors of the economy, including the informal sector as well. And so we are hoping that in the second half, with the IMF in town, things will be tightened up a bit more, and government will settle down to some of the burning issues that we have been raising.
A fiscal policy specialist at Oxfam Ghana, Dr. Alex Ampabe, said this year's mid-year budget review will be a tough one for government, as it will be during the IMF engagement.
People are questioning what is going to happen. So I think it's important that the finance minister come out clearly to tell Ghanaians what is government position on those flagship programs, what is going to happen with free senior high, what's going to happen with NAPCO, what's going to happen with planting for food and jobs, whether they are fading out or if they are staying, if they are staying, what is government way of financing it? People are expressing concern about free senior high. What is government position going into IMF? What are the proposals that go to the IMF? So I think some of these critical questions, definitely I would like to see the finance minister addressing them.
The CSOs also called on government to find other avenues of domestic revenue mobilization, as the e-levy has not performed to expectation.
The Ghana Stock Exchange has been admitted into the UN Sustainable Stock Exchange Hall of Fame. By this latest admission, the GSE has solidified its commitment to transparency and sustainability by becoming a partner exchange of the UN SSE initiative. The newest partner joins a network of 116 stock exchanges and 13 derivatives exchanges around the world that are committed to promoting sustainable development.
The Ghana Stock Exchange joins the UN Sustainable Stock Exchange at a time the equities market is returning negative 8.9% year-to-date on investments. Despite the negative returns, the market recorded the highest volume and value of trade since its creation 32 years ago. Year-to-date, the equities market has traded over 1 billion cedis, whilst the fixed income market has done 110 billion cedis. The UN Sustainable Stock Exchange works with exchanges through technical assistance, consensus building and research to contribute to the achievement of the UN Sustainable Development Goals and to stimulate investment for a sustainable future. exchanges around the world partner with the SSE to work towards a common objective of fostering financial markets that support the growth of sustainable and responsible business practices. Managing Director of the Ghana Stock Exchange, Mr. Ekwafedi, said the UN Sustainable Stock Exchange initiative could not come at a better time when there is a global trend towards sustainability-themed products by most exchanges across the world.
Now take the Interbank and Commodities Board. By MTN. Clara standing by with the health news. Please stay.
You're live on News Hour. I am Mabel Anna. Let's do some energy stories. Securing oil pipelines in the sea and on land have been a concern for players in the offshore petroleum sector. With efforts to construct a gas pipeline to export natural gas to Europe via ECOWAS countries, experts have highlighted the need for adequate security for such a pipeline. According to Ghana Gas, though the issue of piracy is worrying in the West African sub-region, the new pipeline will be secured. Chief Executive of Ghana Gas, Dr. Ben Asante, spoke with GBC News.
With the security around the pipeline as envisaged by the team that is looking at using Africa's gas to actually supply Europe. No doubt, we always run the risk when we have pipelines in the sea, particularly if they are not buried below the sea floor. Now, some of these pipelines very close to the coastal areas usually are buried, but some are not. And if they are exposed, we run the risk, even if they are not pirates, but even significant sea traffic with an anchor drag. So the ship anchor can grab the pipeline at the seams if it's exposed. And sometimes you might even bury it, but just erosion can expose your pipeline. And that lends itself also to third-party damage. I think you have to just look at possible pirate attacks, but certainly also even natural circumstances that exposes the pipe, including even sea traffic.
Now, the High Commissioner of Namibia to Ghana, Selma Shipala Musavi, has interacted with Ghana Energy Minister Dr. Matthew Poku-Prempeh at his office in Accra. The visit is a follow-up to a memorandum of understanding signed earlier between Ghana and Namibia to strengthen collaboration in the oil and gas advancement.
The discussion between the High Commissioner and Dr. Prempeh focused primarily on the energy sectors of the two countries. Dr. Prempeh underscored the need to place premium on local content and local participation in the oil and gas industries, as that is the surest way by which the value of the hydrocarbon resources can be of maximum benefit to the people. The minister said as Africa continues to push strongly for the efficient utilization of its hydrocarbon resources to avoid the phenomenon of stranded assets, engagement with key players on the continent will foster the needed partnerships for the well-being of citizens.
We now bring you some data on national power generation and the water level in the Akosombo and Bui Dam.
Time now for the health news brought to you by Lufat. The Bono East Regional Health Directorate, in collaboration with the Bono East Regional Coordinating Council, has trained 20 nurses in the region on communication, social mobilization skills and management of adolescent clubs in the region. The program had funding support from the UNFPA. Our Bono East Regional correspondent Samuel Ayama has more.
Over a 4-day period, these professionals from the 11 districts of the Bono East region were taken through area-specific skills. The Techimai Municipal Director of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Kwabena Fosuhini Kusi, said, with effective social mobilization, their intentions are made known to the general populace, giving them the opportunity to ask questions, seek clarifications, and dispel rumors which can impede effective running of a program or an intervention.
Social mobilization skills is a key skill set which every health worker should possess, especially the community-based worker, not limited to community health nurses.
Participants were taken through the concepts of adolescence, counseling, adolescent nutrition, sexual and reproductive health challenges, communication, social mobilization skills, and management of adolescent clubs. For GBC News, Samuel Ayama, Techimai.
A 25-year-old mother of two, Ms. Grace Amezando, is appealing to the public to help her raise over 60,000 cedis to enable her to undergo plastic and reconstructive surgeries. Ms. Amezando is unemployed, suffered extensive acid burns to her face and arms caused by her embattled boyfriend, with whom she was cohabiting.
About 2 years ago, Grace Amezando was attacked in the middle of the night by her ex-boyfriend, Bright Busu, a 37-year-old driver who has now been convicted for the crime. Bright incessantly accused Grace of infidelity. On the night of her attack, she says she suddenly felt a burning sensation on her body while asleep and ran out of her room for help. She, however, got professional help a little too late, as she had to be referred by 2 other health facilities to the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. She sustained hypertrophic scars to her chest and upper limbs, wound to her face, ectropion of both lower eyelids, blemish around the mouth, and had difficulty opening the mouth. She defaulted on treatment due to financial constraints. Doctors say Grace is fast losing an eye and will need over 60,000 Ghana cedis for reconstructive surgery. She is therefore appealing to the general public to support her financially.
And I mean, so no surgery, and in time, I mean, back off. Miss Second of phone, so mumbuame. Nincolano, Eshe, Musembe, I'm a surgery by meeting me, Jumana, Masha, and Colano.
The mother of 2 is unemployed, and her children have had to drop out of school. She depends on her grandmother for sustenance. Grace hopes to engage in a trade or enroll at a skills training institute. Donors who wish to support her can send their contributions to the MTN mobile money number 0241 793 990. Account name Sarah Ampofo.
Malaria tidbits.
Segment brought to you by Lufet.